Hi there, this is Simon from writtenlegalenglish.com, and what we're going to do in this video is we're going to focus on rewriting texts into using verbs instead of nouns. The texts we're going to be looking at in this video are taken from my free legal English exercise that I asked you to do. You can find this on my website, writtenlegalenglish.com. If you look at the menu, the header menu, you'll see that there is a big tab, free legal English exercises. You'll find that there. And we're going to be looking at the first three questions. In this particular exercise, I asked you to transform the verb into the appropriate noun for the sentence. But in this video, I just want to open up your eyes a little bit and get you, hopefully, to start a new habit of analysing your writing or other people's writing from a slightly different point of view. That is to say, think of how else you can say the same thing whilst trying to focus on verbs. Now, this might be a process that you automatically go through in trying to interpret what someone else says. So if someone else writes to you and they use lots of nouns in the sentence and they don't use lots of verbs, then this is a process that you go through automatically. You try to find the verb somewhere it's hidden in the sentence for the sentence to make sense to you. So that's the process that we go through in trying to understand what other people say. But certainly when you're writing, and you might have the habit, as a lot of lawyers do, or as a lot of business people have, of using lots and lots of nouns in their writing instead of using verbs. So just to stop yourself, review your writing and say, how else can I say that using verbs? That's what we're going to do in this lesson. So let's get started. And the first thing we're going to do is going to have a look at those three questions. Your rapporteur recommends accept the Council's common position without further amendment. In addition, the amendment serves the purpose of clarification in order to prevent evade, and administer of client databases improves the resolution of the autonomy of clients. Now, with question number one, there's two different ways that you can approach this. We can look at it from the point of view of the verb recommends. So we could say your rapporteur recommends you, but then what happens next? If we give recommend an object, in other words, you, your rapporteur recommends you. After that, we have to use accept. We have to use the bare infinitive, and we have to remove the preposition. So your rapporteur recommends you accept the Council's common position without further amendment. But how can we use accept as a verb? Well, in order to do that, what we've got to do is we've got to introduce a that. So your rapporteur recommends that you, now you becomes the subject, that you accept, once again we get rid of the preposition, the Council's common position without further amendment. So that way the sentence becomes a lot more personal. It's directed towards you. Particularly when you compare it to the original sentence with the noun. Your rapporteur recommends acceptance of the Council's common position without further amendment. So you, in the sentence with the noun, acceptance, it becomes quite abstract. It's not completely clear who should be accepting. It's just that there should be acceptance. But who should be accepting? If we use a strong verb, then we have to say who is doing that. So your rapporteur recommends that you accept the Council's common position. For question number two, in addition, the amendment serves the purpose of clarification in order to prevent evade. Now, if we focus on evade, this verb tells us that it's trying not to do something, trying to avoid something in some way. So identifying who is going to be evading is, I would imagine, a fairly important thing. So how can we do that? How can we use evade as a verb? Well, we might use a structure like this. In addition, the amendment serves the purpose of clarification in order to prevent you evading evading what? I don't know. But evading then has to be used as a gerund, not as a verb. Now, that's not necessarily a terrible thing. On my course, I talk about a language hierarchy in terms of preference of words. So this word is better than this word is better than this word, and certainly gerunds using a gerund is better than using a nominalization. If you can think of a way of using evade as a noun here, and you can invent a context to allow you to do that, then please leave it in the comments below. But putting on our plain English hats, we can look at the whole sentence and we can say, well, do we really need to say everything there? In addition, the amendment serves the purpose of clarification in order to prevent... There's lots of what Richard Widdick calls glue words in there. Words which provide no function or no meaning whatsoever other than just to stick other words together. So if we boil down that message, if we ask ourselves, what is the author really trying to say? It could be that we come up with this. In addition, the amendment aims to prevent you from evading whatever it might be given the context. Once again, we've got the gerund, evading, we haven't got a verb form, but as I said, using gerunds is better, in my opinion, than using nominalizations in your writing. So, in looking at trying to use a verb, we might have to consider the whole sentence and ask ourselves, are we really saying what we want to say here? Or is there a more concise way of saying what we want to say? And we've managed, perhaps, to get rid of a whole load of unnecessary words and communicate the message in a little bit more of a clearer way. For number 3, administer of client databases improves the resolution of the autonomy of clients. So once again, if you can think of a way of using administer as a verb, so you must administer databases, you have administered client databases, which, or whatever it might be, then please leave that in the comments below. I went back to using a gerund, administering client databases. Once again, get rid of the preposition, improves the resolution of the autonomy of the clients. Once again, gerunds are a noun, yes, but they actually sound as if they're doing something. They give a little bit more energy to the sentence, which is why I prefer them over normal nominalizations. And for example, administration of client databases sounds terrible, doesn't tell me anything, but administering somehow connects to me a lot more. But once again, we can do what we did for number 2. We can ask ourselves, what are we really trying to say here? And we might say something like this. Administering client databases helps clients to resolve issues regarding their rights, which is a much more straightforward way of saying improves the resolution of the autonomy of clients, which is an abstract thing which no one really understands. And just imagine a situation, a client comes up to you, or you're in the tolls advanced exam and you've got to put this into plain English, into a way that a normal person from the street would understand. Then perhaps you could translate that message into something like I've suggested. Administering client databases helps clients to resolve issues regarding their rights. So what I've done here is, what I've tried to do here is communicate a couple of points. First of all, there was the exercise, can we use the verb instead of the noun? And if we can, or if we can try to, how do we have to change the sentence? And then secondly, trying to introduce this as a habit of, okay, once you've written something, redraft it, and if you can't see many strong verbs, just get into the habit of asking yourself, how can I use a verb here? How can I replace that noun with a verb, and how can I make my message stronger and clearer? And then it's the wider picture, which is particularly important from the point of view of talking to clients or the TOLS advanced exam. What am I really trying to say, and how can I make the message as simple as possible? A really important skill that you should practice and develop.